Welcome, folks, to the Media Mystics podcast.
Welcome to the Media Mystics podcast.
This is our little just explanation of what we're here for. So, who are these people? And why are we here? Why are we here? My vision of this podcast would be to say, I have deeply fallen in love with beauty presented in film, music, video games, poetry, art, paintings, etc., and how those things have brought me to Christ, where once I felt they were separate from my faith life, I have come to see how Jesus has revealed himself to me in all those beautiful mediums of art. And I want this podcast to help people find that, to see Jesus and his Catholic Church present in and working through the media of the world. That's kind of my little thesis statement. And to help people pray, not only just to talk about art, but to help them actually pray through the things that they're encountering. That's kind of my thesis vision. What about you? What's your little thesis?
Yeah, so the Media Mystics podcast, we seek to be mystical with media. What does that mean? We take time to reflect. We take time to pray. We take time to connect everything that we consume in terms of art, and we use that as fuel for our relationship with Jesus. And I think right now we're kind of in a culture where media is all around us and is so immediately accessible, and it's really sweet, but we're leaving crumbs on the table. We're leaving food on the table. And so I want to make sure that we have this, not only have media that we consume and enjoy, but we enjoy for the sake of giving us energy for the gospel. And that's kind of why I'm here.
I like it.
Yeah. So I'm Thomas.
I'm Charlie.
This is Charlie. 5-second background. My name's Thomas. I'm a theology teacher. I went to college with Charlie, and I have no more time. That was my 5 seconds.
And you studied in college what?
You're going to give me more time.
I know. It's a gift. Okay. It's an honor.
Yeah. I studied religious education and philosophy. And then I was a teacher for 3 years after college. I was in seminary for 1 year. Seminary is a school where people train to become Catholic priests. And then I came back and I'm a teacher again.
And what other things are you passionate about? Hobbies, interests, things that intrigue Thomas?
Interestingly, I'm really into personal finance. I just love reading about personal finance. I read a lot of books. Pretty voracious reader. I'm into climbing. I'm into Frisbee. I'm also into drinking. What's
a favorite drink?
I like grabbing beers with the friends and just enjoying new tastes of beers. So favorite drink right now, favorite beer right now is by Metazoa Brewing Company.
Okay.
It's called the Hippopotamus IPA.
Yeah.
You've had it?
Yeah. The restaurant that I worked at, I believe we served the Hippopotamus. Was a good beer.
So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And here's Charlie.
Hey, what's up, folks? I'm Charlie. About me, went to college also with Thomas. That's how we know each other. At that time, I was studying philosophy and theology in a Catholic studies degree. I was in seminary at the time, so I was in seminary for 4.5 years. Did my college seminary, and then 1 semester of graduate level seminary, where I developed really my love. Not really developed, but really kind of my love for philosophy and theology blossomed, and so I'm also a theology teacher in a high school. But ever since I was young, my love has also always been for art, movies, video games, TV shows, music. I loved just growing up making short films and things. And when I had entered seminary, I kind of had a little bit of an identity, I don't know if crisis or just confusion of, man, I've grown up making short films and submitting things to film festivals and loving art. And I guess now that I'm in seminary, I'm just supposed to give all that up and Lord, what do I do? And I was really crying out to God to figure that out. And through actually a book published by Likeable Art, they have a book called The Created Book, which is, they sent out a prompt to 40 or so artists and just said, like, what are your 5 words you want to say to the Catholic art community? And they just wrote some paragraphs and made a piece of art that had 5 words in it about what they want to say. And that just helped me see, wow, there's a vocation to being an artist and to finding God in media. So those are kind of some of my loves that are presented kind of in this mission. I love all those pieces of media. And as far as other things, I'm really interested in I like to run. I used to do a lot of mountain biking. Haven't done that in a while. Also like ultimate frisbee. Been playing a lot of racquetball. I love racquetball.
Yeah, he's always trying to get me to play racquetball with him.
It's good. We wake up very early Friday mornings to play racquetball before work, and it's an excellent way to start the day. And everybody else is getting a lot better than I am. They're faster at improving. So I got some good competition. And I also prefer probably mixed drinks instead of beer. You know, a good old fashioned, a Black Russian for a while I really liked. Any good mixed drinks, like anything on the signature cocktail list is what I'm sure to try.
Yeah. We didn't expect to talk about our drinking habits on episode 0 of our podcast, but this just goes to show that we're really excited you're here and excited to introduce ourselves and some of our interests to you. So, Charlie, as we kind of maybe talk about the podcast a little bit more, maybe a motivating quote or from scripture or from a saint that kind of gives people a lens into what the podcast is about.
Yeah, I have a quote from Blessed James L. Barione. Blessed James L. Barione is, I think, a blessed that is underknown. I think that more people should know about him. He has really helped me kind of shape my vision for my own vocation that is being poured out into this podcast. Blessed James L. Barione is the founder of the Pauline family. I think there's about 10, I think is correct, like religious orders, groups, institutions that he founded throughout his life. One of the most well-known is the Daughters of St. Paul. You might know them. They're kind of active in the media world of especially like printing and publications, books. If you're Catholic and own some Catholic books at home, like where the copyright information is at, you've probably got books that are like printed by like the Pauline Media Group. And Blessed James L. Barione, St. John Paul II beatified him and called him the media apostle. And so I think that he is a man who just deeply loved Jesus, who was the way, the truth, and the life, and he sought to preach the gospel through the media of his time. He is prior to video games and cell phones, living earlier in the 1900s. But I want to share this quote from him that I think encapsulates why I have him as a patron of this podcast and just the vision of this podcast.
Okay.
Blessed James L. Barione says, "The machine, the microphone, the screen are our pulpit. The press, the production room, the screening hall, and the transmission center are like our church. The temptations are many, but we shall make ours the words of Paul. I do all things for the gospel." He's a man that loves Jesus first and uses media to express that love and to take the needs of the world to Christ.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and maybe to share a quote that I really appreciate from Romans chapter 12. "I urge you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God, your spiritual worship. Do not conform yourselves to this age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and pleasing and perfect." And so maybe just to say, like, yeah, there's lots of, like, we live in an age where there is so much accessible to us just at the push of a button. So many books, so many pieces of art, so many movies, so many TV shows, so many video games, all incredible. And we receive things at an astounding rate now. And so I guess, like, my hope for this podcast, in kind of union with what I said earlier, is that whatever we consume, we can turn it into something and kind of pull it apart in such a way that we can find the good in it and make that get us closer to Christ. Have that be kind of a source of goodness for us rather than a source of confusion or a source of, or a source of sorrow in our spiritual life.
Yeah, I like that.
So,
and I think your quote that you bring forward also reminds me that we are not here to worship the media. We are not mystics just about encountering media. Media is just a medium through which we are having mystical encounters with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He is the one that we are here to encounter. Media is but a means to encounter him. It's beautiful. We love the media that the Lord has given us, but that is not our end.
And there's lots to talk about.
There's lots to talk about.
And so it's very exciting to be able to share this podcast with you and with each other and really like try to get to the heart of a lot of the art that is sent our way in these days. And it's an exciting project. So glad to be working on it with you.
Yeah, really excited to be here. And while we are both coming at this from a Roman Catholic perspective, certainly not intended to only be for Roman Catholics. We're excited to have all of you here, excited to have all of you present, and excited to hear what all of you guys think, regardless of what your backgrounds, and hopeful that this is just like a cool space for the world of people that want to talk about media and its crossover with virtue, ethics, spirituality, and all manners of just deep human conversation.
Yeah. And I think if we're going to become most fully ourselves, like we just have to reflect on everything that we're receiving most of the time. And so, I think this is going to be a useful podcast for both the person of faith and the person without. So, yeah.
Any other final things to say? This is the Media Mystics podcast that come to mind for you, of things you'd want to express or the audience to know about what our mission, vision here is, or who this was made for?
Yeah. So we mentioned a little bit about who it was made for and kind of the nature of the mission. Maybe just to also mention like the structure that we're going to be starting the podcast with. So really two major things. So first thing is like we're going to look at movies and art and music and kind of just like discuss them and discuss the themes in them and the characters and other things like that in some kind of long form podcast discussions.
Like we're doing now.
Yeah. And then there's also another thing called Mystic Moments that we're working on too.
Yeah, and that I think is probably like, that's hopefully the core and the heart of also this ministry, is that all of these long form podcast discussions would lead you to not only good conversation, but also to good prayer. And that we would help people to pray and to come to know the Lord. And so those mystic moments are exactly where we want to do that. When we talk about a film or a book or a piece of music on this podcast, we'll have probably a long form discussion about it. But then we will also be putting together some just guided meditations to meditate on where we have personally experienced Christ in those works. So know that, those are kind of the two primary sources of content from this platform. Long form media podcasts and mystic moments. And we'll have those broken down into playlists on YouTube and also whatever, hopefully we'll get them all broken down into whatever platform you'd like to listen to this on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc.
Yeah. So please, that being said, be a part of our journey. Suggest different things to us, either on this channel's or this video's immediate page or on other pages on the channel, of things that you'd like to see us talk about, because we're always looking for ideas too.
Yeah.
And
give us like a little thesis statement, in like a sentence or whatever about like, watch this and here's my view of why it's so powerful. No spoilers, but give us a vision so that we can see, in a brief sentence what we might want to tap into.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're excited to be embarking on this journey with you, and we hope to be useful. Yeah.
Really excited.
Yeah. Well, the Media Mystics podcast.
Thank you all for coming. Hope to see you again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Peace.
God bless. Please send this episode to anyone you think might appreciate it. God bless.